please don't progress if you are not 100% sure of the previous modules, because each module builds on to the next. And if you haven't got solid ground, man, this house is going to be swept into the sea. So this is flow 2. So remember, flow 1 was input through your senses, immediate survival response, immediate output. Second level of flow, in flow 1, was sensory input, but there was an emotional response. And then there was an action. Well, was an action in any case. The third level was input through the senses, information flowing through the limbic system because you feel engaged, all the way up to the thinking brain, back through the limbic system, down through the survival brain, and out through the muscles. With flow 3, this refers to the left and right profile in totality. So the first one, it was only in terms of the brain. Now we're adding the eyes and the ears and the arms and the legs as well. So there are 3 kinds of flow in flow 2. Flow 1 of flow 2 is called free flow. That means, and we're only talking about left and right now, so it will only be the eyes and the ears, left and right brain, and left and right leg and hand and leg. So when information flows in through a blue eye and a blue ear to a blue brain, and then from the blue brain to a blue hand and foot, that's called free flow. Why? Because everything is compatible. It's blue to blue to blue, which means detail to detail to detail. You with me? And the same would apply for red as well. So if there's a red eye dominance, which is typically left, red ear dominance, red brain dominance, red hand and red foot, it means free flow. Everything is red. Okay? All blue, free flow in terms of left and right. All red in terms of left and right, free flow. Because from input to processing to output, all compatible. Advantages and disadvantages. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, free flow. So let's talk about blocked flow. It's typically known as blocked flow, but I don't like the terminology. I would rather suggest that we use interrupted or delayed flow. So what would happen is, say a person has a blue eye, blue ear, red brain, blue hand, blue foot. It means everything is on the same side of the body. Blue eye, blue ear, red brain, blue hand, blue foot. So that means information has to flow from the eye and the ear to the opposite non-dominant side of the brain, across to the dominant side of the brain for interpretation, back to the non-dominant side of the brain to output through the right hand and foot. Do you see? It's a long way. If we compare that, for example, to free flow, watch. Right eye, right ear, left brain, right hand, right foot. So it's in, process, out. 2 lines. Watch what happens with interrupted flow. So blue eye, blue ear, red brain, blue hand, blue foot. So the eye and the ear sends information to the non-dominant side of the brain, but the left brain, the blue brain, controls the blue eye and ear. It has to go there. It can't go straight to red. Okay, that's line 1. Line 2 for processing. Line 3 back to the non-dominant side of the brain to be able to output to the blue hand and foot. 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see, that's why we call it delayed flow. Some people call it blocked flow for the simple reason that when one is stressed, the non-dominant side of the brain and all the bits that it controls idles. It goes into idle mode. Idle mode doesn't mean it's switched off. It means it's active, it's alive, it's functional, but it's passive. So the moment one goes into survival or stress mode, what happens, the non-dominant side of the brain goes into idle mode. And if one it has a profile of a blue eye, blue ear, red brain, red hand, red foot, and the blue brain goes into idle mode because the red brain is dominant, that blue brain, it means that the blue eye and ear and hand and foot also goes into idle mode. So what does the person have available? Wonderful creative brain, but input is delayed, output is delayed. Now sometimes, and in my years as working with children with learning problems, what often happened is people would think the child has a learning problem because of their delayed processing. But the moment they understood, oh, it is just the way my brain processes information. And the more we practice, the more we use those pathways, the more myelinated they become. They become superhighways, and that speeds up the process. So free flow, per definition, is always faster than delayed flow. Obviously, the same can apply on the left-hand side. If a person has a blue brain dominance, red eye, red ear, red hand, red foot, what happens to information from the red eye and the red ear? It travels to the red brain because it's the controlling part of the brain. It then has to go to the dominant side of the brain, which is blue in this instance. Then it has to go back to the red brain before it can output through the red hand and the red foot. You see, more lines, and because there's the information, it's like in a pinball machine. It goes from side to side. The output is delayed. It does not mean that because the person's processing is a little bit slower, do not equate slow with dumb. It's one of the biggest atrocities on this earth is when we don't understand a person's processing and we just think, well, they must be less than. Speed does not necessarily equate intelligence. We just need to be very sure of that. So there's free flow, there is delayed flow, and then there's mixed flow. What's mixed flow? It's a combination of both. Some parts of the profile flows freely and some parts of the profile is delayed. Now there are only two free-flowing profiles. Completely blue, I'm talking about left and right only. Completely red, remember we're only talking about left and right at the moment. There's only two blocked profiles or delayed processing profiles, which is everything is on the right hand side, blue eye, blue ear, red brain, blue hand, blue foot, or red eye, red ear, blue brain, red hand, red foot. So there are only four. All the other profiles are mixed. So it's important for us to understand that not only is which expert is dominant important, it is how does the information flow and is it compatible? Oh, now here comes a next step. I hope you're ready for it. Okay, otherwise rewind and watch again. Okay, backtrack a bit. So now we want to talk about compatibility. You see, red is compatible with red. Blue is compatible with blue. Blue, listen carefully, kindly make a note. Blue is compatible with red. You can send detailed information to a red brain that becomes absolutely, goes into creative mode and uses those details to come up with a whole new approach using the very same details. Okay? Just like a kaleidoscope. If you look through a kaleidoscope, it's the same bits, but it depends on how you turn it. What's the image that evolves? Okay? So blue can flow to red, but red cannot flow to blue. What does that mean? So red means big picture. Red means impressions. Red means sensations. Okay? And if that flows to the blue part of the brain, the blue part of the brain says, what must I do with this? Go back, reassess, send me factual information, detailed information, because that's all that I can process. So when there's a red eye or ear that sends information to a blue brain, there's a double intake. There has to be a double intake, which slows down. So it's slightly delayed response. And you know what is fascinating? When we look at a red profile, remember, red cannot flow to blue without a double intake. Okay? So when that red brain is it has a plan. There's a wonderful new idea, and it wants to feed it to the blue hand that needs to communicate that plan, or the blue leg to act on it. It can't do it immediately. We call it bum to chair mode. So the moment the red brain has a plan, it has to sit down. Very, very, very difficult for a red brain to sit down and create a list, step-by-step list to go over into action. Because if they haven't written it down, they haven't converted their marvelous innovative idea into language. So when they communicate it, nobody can understand them. But the moment they've written it down, they can express it much easier. Or the moment they've made a list, it's much easier to act in the way that that dominant blue leg wants to act. The Mind Dynamics Profile instrument is not a simple instrument. No, it's not true. It's very simple. But we need to understand the underlying complexities to really appreciate the complexity of your own processing and the person sitting right in front of you.